So I've been talking about this, but this is going to be a big one for me. It's so big, I put a collared shirt on. I don't do that very often, as you know. So we're at the Behind the Bits podcast. My guest today is Larry Hankin, and you know him from his roles as Mr. Heckles on Friends, Doobie from Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, and Joe from Breaking Bad and El Camino, and so many more great characters. I mean, the guy has done so much. But did you know that he got his start in stand-up comedy, and that's why I'm talking to him. And he opened for people like Woody Allen and Miles Davis, and he also started the iconic improv group, The Committee, with his friends. And we're going to learn all that and more from Larry Hankin. I can't believe it. I've got Larry Hankin today. Larry, how you doing?
I'm doing okay. I just had to shut the window. There's fire engines going on. Oh. Maybe my house is my apartment is building is burning down. I don't know.
Well, we don't want that to happen. Yeah, so I'm just
broadcast anyway.
Yeah. So I'm obviously I told you I'm stoked to have you on the show. This is a big honor for me, and I appreciate you taking the time to talk to me.
Oh, thank you. It's my pleasure. Actually, I like talking. So
good. Well, I like listening, so we're going to get along real well. So I want to talk about the fact. I mean, you went to school to be in industrial design, and
yes, I did.
And you obviously steered away from that fairly quickly. Can you tell me what the path was right out of college and going to Greenwich Village?
Okay. So I graduated, and as an industrial designer, and I was offered a job at General Motors designing future cars. For a lot of money, man.
Yeah.
I mean, to get out of college and start at like, I don't know, $75,000 or $100,000 a year.
Wow.
That's crazy. But I was a good student. I mean, I really, I have a little OCD, so I get into things.
Uh-huh.
And I'm also dyslexic, so I get into things. So, but my best friend in college, Syracuse University, was Carl Gottlieb. I don't know if your fans know who Carl Gottlieb is, but he wrote all the Jaws movies, or at least 3 of them.
Yeah, he co-wrote The Jerk too.
And he's written a lot of movies, but he was my best friend. And he said, so I get this call from General Motors, and I'd gone to see them. They'd flown me and a couple other top students out to Detroit, gave us a tour, and I have no censor. I have no boundaries, man. I mean, verbally.
Right.
So I just speak my mind, and anything that I didn't like, I told them, well, that's kind of crappy. And they didn't like that at all. And I noticed that, like I would pick up something and I go, what is it? It was like a modern car somebody had made,
Yeah.
Off a desk, we were taking a tour and to pick it up and he goes, oh, you really like that? Looking at it. I said, no, actually it looks ridiculous. And he goes, that's the head of the department made that one.
Oh,
he tried to be, but I could see it.
Mm-hmm.
It registered. This is going nowhere. But I don't. I see. Here's the thing. I don't care. I mean, there's certain things I do care about, but if I don't care about it, then I don't care.
Right.
And if I do care, man, I care.
Right.
Well, I didn't care about him or his head of the department's model or anything. And then he said something which is really cool. He said, all right, well, now we're going to see the CEO's lunchroom. I don't know, cafeteria. The CEO's cafeteria. So he takes us in there, and it's beautiful. It's like an upscale New York restaurant, man. Really cool. That impressed me. I really was impressed. So I said to him, there was like 4 or 5 of us students. I said, wow, man, we're going to eat here? He said, oh, no. This is where the CEOs eat. You don't eat here. I said, what the fuck are you showing it to us for? So that got to him. But I didn't, I kind of knew I wasn't going to be here. I kind of somehow, I didn't know where I was going, but this wasn't my life that I had thought. I was a good kid and I'd fulfilled my obligations to my parents by going to college and graduating
Uh-huh.
with honors.
Right.
And I thought, okay, that's it. Thank you. Goodbye.
Yeah.
I'll see you. And
it's
so I went home, and then luckily, Carl Gottlieb, who was my friend, called me and he said, "Hey, man, I want to go to the village. I want to be a writer." He had been in the journalism school.
uh-huh.
I had been in the industrial design school. And so he said, "Yeah, let's go to Greenwich Village." And I said, "Man, I'm there. Let's do it."
Uh-huh.
So we bought a car for $150, an old car. I lived on Long Island, drive up to New York, and we got this. Well, anyway, that was college. Okay, so we went to Greenwich Village, and we got this apartment for very, very, very cheap. It was a sixth floor walk up, and or fifth floor walk up, with no windows. It was a one window opened onto an atrium, the hole in the middle of a building.
Yeah.
Which faced a brick wall.
Uh-huh.
So we were there, but that's my start. And I didn't have a job now. I mean, he had a job. He had already written letters ahead in newspapers in New York. Neighborhood newspapers, not New York Times or anything like
Right.
that. Just little neighborhood papers. But he had a job, and he was reviewing movies, which he wanted to write movies. So he was right in the ballpark. He was great. I had no idea, man. I didn't care. I was free. I didn't have my parents to. I had fulfilled all my obligations to my parents. All.
Yeah.
So I was free, man. And the only job I could get that I wanted, because I wanted my days to be free. I mean, that was the plan. My days are going to be free, and I'll just kind of, I don't know, maybe draw, or I don't know. And so I got a job as the only job I could get actually was a job as swabbing a bar after 2 a.m. From 2 a.m. to 6 a.m. When the chef came in. It's like a bar and grill in Greenwich Village, in the neighborhood, just a walk away from where we lived. So that's what I was doing. I for about 2 or 3 weeks. And I was stealing food from the grill, from the restaurant part of the bar. And I would always wear a raincoat to work. And I got that from like the Marx Brothers, from Harper. Spoons. He was always stealing spoons and stuff.
Yeah.
So that's where I got the idea. I thought, okay, I'll wear a raincoat. And then I would go to the restaurant part, and then I would like a rasher of bacon, and I would stick it in my back thing. And then I would wait by the door. See, they locked me in. I never understood that, but they locked me. I guess so nobody could break in, but I couldn't get out. They locked me on the outside, so I had to be there from 2 until 6. And then the morning chef, would come in. He would open the door, and I would go out. But I would always wait right by the door, right by and as soon as he opened the door, I would. I didn't want to talk to him, or he would bulge or anything like that. I was starving, man. And then Carl would steal food for me. When he went to review movies, I guess they still do it, but then because he was reviewing movies, the same movies that the New York Times guys were reviewing, and the Mirror guys, the big ones in all the neighborhoods, and and what they did is they served you wine and the frozen shrimp, the cold shrimp bowls, and with the dip. So the wine, and they get you like little liquor, and then you go in and you mellow and you see the movie.
You like the movie better. Yeah.
And they also had, which was interesting because it counted, was in those days, they actually served real linen napkins, not paper napkins, man. So he would take these linen napkins every time. He'd at least go to 3 a week. Take a linen napkin, take a handful of cold shrimp, put it in a napkin, wrap it up, put it in his pocket, and he'd take it home for me to eat. That was so he was feeding me. And he was paying, if I missed a payment on the rent, he would kind of shove.
Yeah.
So he would pay it for me. So I would save the linen napkins. I thought that was really neat.
Yeah.
And after about, I don't know, a month or two, I would hang them all over. They would use white linen napkins. And then finally one day he came in and said, look, I'm not going to do this anymore. And I thought, well, what have I done? Why all of a sudden you're not going to take shrimp from me? And he said, because my suit is smelling like fish. That's why. And, yeah, he only had one suit.
Yeah.
So that was the end of that. And so I had nothing to do during the day, which was what my plan was. But I didn't realize the reality of that.
Yeah.
Which is, man, it's a long day if you have nothing to do.
Uh-huh.
I mean, it's because you can hang out with this guy and that guy, but they have things to do. So,
right.
But there was open mic nights in Greenwich Village, and that's where we were, and that's where we lived, and that's where I worked at night. So I would go right before going to the bar to clean up the duck boards and stuff. If I never see another peanut shell, I will be very happy. So I would go to the open mic nights because they were free, and you could just sit there for an hour or two, just listening to comedians and folk singers, coffee, and I thought I was funny in high school. I won funniest in high school 2 years in a row.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought I'm funny, and I can do that. Sure. So I get up on stage, and I was god awful, man. I really was. It's not the same. Funny is not the same as hanging with your friends.
Yeah.
As getting up on a stage and people want to laugh, and that's what they're there for. But, and here's the great but about, and I just to this day I love open mic nights because you only have 3 to 5 minutes back, and sometimes you would get 10 if you were going to close and you had a good shot the other night. Let you go a little longer, but 3 to 5 minutes. So people will listen to you for 3 to 5 minutes, even if you're bad. They knew you're going to be off, and maybe the next guy will be really funny or be a good folk singer. So they had patience. If I was bad, nobody booed or said get off the stage. They just sit there, until you were finished. And you get off, next person. So it was really cool, and I was really, because just talking and being funny in talk and hanging out, you're just picking out stuff that you want to. But on stage, you have to have specific stuff. You can't ramble until they left. They left 3 minutes, man, which was even more pressure. So you're less funny. Even if it was funny when you wrote it, it's not funny now.
Yeah.
So, but thank God, because I am a funny person. I mean, sooner or later, you start to get the gist of it. And so after 6 months of doing open mic nights, I was opening for Woody Allen. So cool, man.
Yeah.
And it was all because of open mic nights. The patience of the people, in the beginning, sit there and not. So I didn't have any guff,
Yeah. What was your material like back then when you got good enough to open for Woody?
There's only one joke I remember, and it's not funny. But to tell you how bad I was. The material that I had was like, I was sleeping last night and a mosquito was buzzing around the room, which does happen, and I couldn't go to sleep. So it was buzzing and buzzing. So what I did was I convinced the mosquito that I was a psychiatrist, and I asked him to lay down on the couch so I could psychiatry him. And then when he laid down on the couch, I slammed the couch up against the ceiling and crushed him. And that was where I was at. That was the kind of humor, ridiculous, trying to be ridiculous and funny. But if ridiculous isn't funny, it's just stupid.
Yeah. Well, that's actually funny. And
what?
That's actually funny. And that non sequitor stuff is good.
400 years later,
Yeah.
yeah, I hit somebody who thinks it's funny. Well, they didn't. That's all I can say.
Okay.
Funny or not,
Yeah.
they sat there and waited for the next guy or folks.
Now
So
you talk about your time on stage. Did you actually like write stuff out before you went up,
never,
or did you?
never, ever did I ever write anything, and I didn't know because I didn't know how to write a joke.
Mm,
I didn't know how to write a setup and a punchline because all of my stuff when I was funny in high school and just with anybody or just with Carl the day before I got on stage and wasn't funny.
uh-huh.
We would just I would make the humor out of what was going on, out of the reality. I would
Right.
out of what you were saying or what was going on, and you just put things together in your mind and you say it. You find the mistake or the loophole or the irony in what's going on. But to write it, you have to create an event, and I couldn't do it. It was the OCD, it was the dyslexia, it was the ADHD, it was a lot of things. I couldn't. But even when I was opening for Woody Allen and Miles Davis and The Lovin' Spoonful, and I was doing arena events, and I still never wrote anything. What I did was the way that I made my material. I was a star, a stand-up comedy star for at least 2 to 3 years. I was top of my form, opening for really star acts. Is that I never wrote anything. What I would do is you would have your hunks. You get on stage and you go, and you go, oh, I got 10 minutes of really cool stuff. All right. So if I knew I had 10 minutes, eventually I would break it out and tell you I'd have to open for a star. You'd have to have 30 minutes. But, 10 minutes, what I developed is, okay, I got 10 minutes. So I would say, I would get up on stage, and I discovered this, that an audience will, I guess it was open mic nights that turned me on to this. An audience will listen to you for approximately 2 minutes, even if you're not funny. They're just sizing you up. They'll listen to you. Maybe he's going to say something interesting within a minute or two. They have patience for 2 minutes. After that, you better pay off, because then it's forget it. Then they, boo, get off the stage. Where's the Kingston Trio? So there's about a definite line. So what I would do is I would talk about my day for 2 minutes. I had it down in my head, some sort of timing thing. I would just get up and just, flow. Just whatever. And if it wasn't funny, bing, you just go into your first joke. The good stuff, the 10 minutes. And sometimes if I was funny just off the top of my head for 3 to 4 minutes, you just keep going. You just play the role, you just keep going. And then when they stop laughing and you see, all right, they're losing interest, this new stuff that I'm just doing is not cutting it anymore, you go into your 10 minutes.
Right.
And so now, I don't know if all comedians have this, but I do. And I'm sure other comedians do. You have a photographic memory for laughs. In other words, if I'm talking to you in a show, talking to the audience, the first 3 minutes, first 2 minutes, first minute, blah, 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 no laughs, blah, 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 funny laugh, funny laugh, blah, 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 funny laugh. Okay, and then they stop laughing. I'm going into my 10 minutes. Boom. The next night, for whatever reason, I will only remember those 3 laughs. So I would start with, a minute of just blah, 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 blah. And then I would pull in those 3 laughs or what I thought were the 3 laughs.
Yeah.
What I remembered of the night before's opening monologue when I got laughs, that would just come to me. And it would be perfectly formed from last night. I had a photographic memory for, oh my God. So I had a photographic memory for, I'm going to throw this away. Okay. funny. I had a photographic memory for laughs, and I think all comedians do have it. So I never had to write anything because of that little, moving belt of informational laughter. I would just pick out the laughs, and I did that for years. Never writing anything, but that formula of 2 to 3 minutes, remembering the thing from last night, putting it in, moving it up, and just on that conveyor belt. And then I would save the funniest stuff for laughs and get off. Now, as I became more and more proficient at this, I started to bring in critical thinking, which I never even thought I had. But the critical thinking that's when the cops started to show up.
Yeah.
The critical thinking was where Lenny Bruce met the law.
Yeah.
You start talking about religion and drugs and the law, and I thought all that was funny to me.
Yeah.
And it got bigger laughs. Interestingly enough, the more outlaw you get, the bigger laughs you get.
Yeah.
Until you're opening for the Kingston Trio, which is not my crowd.
Yeah.
And then guys come at you with a beer bottle upside down in your hand across the dance floor because you're in a nightclub opening for the Kingston Trio. And he's just saying to you as he comes towards you, get the fuck off the stage and bring on the Kingston Trio. Whoa.
Oh.
Whoa, you just turned the corner, Larry.
Did you make fun of Baptist or what?
You what?
Did you make fun of Baptist or what?
No, I was talking about genitalia and religion and Baptist. No, naked. I was talking about that God. God did it. The word God. I had a bit where I had a microphone and I just took a little person. So, here's the thing about religion, which I don't understand, And he said, here's this little guy, and I put him on the top of the mic stand. And I would talk to him. I go, hey, man, how you doing? Wow, that's really unique. I made you. That's really cool. But what's that between your legs? Boom. Guy with hey, what the fuck, man? Get the fuck. Yes, he did say fuck. Get the fuck off the stage and bring on the Kingston Trio. So I'm talking about a little naked guy. What's between your legs? Get the fuck off the stage. And I got off the stage because this guy was, as Lenny said, a starker.
Yeah.
With a beer bottle upside down in his hand. And I just, okay, man, you got the stage. It's yours.
Wow.
And then, so I was fired.
Yeah.
But I before I was fired, I quit.
Yeah.
I mean, because that's the one thing that probably saved my sanity is I don't care if I'm fired. I've been homeless in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And I was cleaning duck boards before, I was opening for the Kingston Trio. Mm-hmm. And man, my roommate was stealing food from me. What the fuck you mean,
Yeah.
Get off the stage.
Yeah.
Oh, you're fired. Not get off the stage. I'm getting off the stage because I don't want that. But if he says you're fired, fine, man. I've been there. I've done this.
Yeah.
No biggie.
Were you physical when you were on stage? Did you like act out when you were doing?
No, I would act out the stories or the characters. Get off the stage and I would hold the beer. But no, I wasn't physical. Because that mic is your key.
Yeah.
Don't go too far away from that mic.
Yeah. Well, you have a. You're extremely tall, especially you were born in 40 and you're 6'4", right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm 6'5", and I was born in 64, and I'm in like the 99th percentile. So you're in like the 99.97th percentile of height. Did your height play a factor in how crowds responded to you?
No, except my manager did. I was discovered by Bob Dylan. And that's a fact. Because I was in the Village and he was in the Village, and he would come see me. I didn't know this until he told me. But he would come and see me all the time. and he brought me to his manager. Uh, uh, Man, I got a blank on it now.
Uh-huh.
Uh, oh man, that's so sad. I've never forgotten his name.
Yeah.
He brought me to his manager,
Uh-huh.
and it'll come to me later. So he brought me to the manager, and he asked me to, and he asked his manager to come and see me. He said, "I want you to handle this guy. This guy's fucking funny, man."
Mhm.
So he brought me down, and then so I went to his office, and no, he. What did he do? Oh, he invited me up to Bearsville to hang.
Mhm.
So I was with the band and Dylan and that whole there's all those people. And one day, Robbie Robertson come to me and said, we're doing a movie, and Bob said you could write a movie." I don't know where that came from. I never told him.
Uh-huh.
I guess he assumed, oh, he's funny. Write a movie. You can write. So that's funny with geniuses because they can do things that other people can't.
Yeah.
Assume everybody can do that.
Yeah.
Not true. So Robbie called me, at home and said, "Hey, Bob said you can write a movie. Why don't you write?" And I said yes because I always say yes. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
So I wrote this kind of Ballad of Reading Jail by Oscar Wilde type of treatment.
Uh-huh.
It all rhymed for like 4 pages of this God who comes to Earth. And,
Uh-huh.
it was cool,
Yeah.
but that's not a movie.
Yeah.
Writing is writing. That's what I thought. So anyway, one day Robbie comes to my house and he says, "Hey, what's going on with the writing? I mean, it's kind of long. You got anything?" And I said, "Yeah, I finished it. Here it is." So I gave him, I don't know, 5, 6 pages. I said, "It's a treatment,
Uh-huh.
They know that's fine. Just we need a story." So he didn't read it. He just took it and he split. He just showed up on my door, said, "You got the thing?" I go, "Yeah, here." Boom, and he left. Next day, he comes to my door again because I had rented a house up there.
Mhm.
Because now he had Warner Brothers, who was working with Robbie, paid me money to now do this treatment. So I had money and I rented a house. He comes to my house the second day and he says, knock, knock, knock. "Oh, Robbie, hi." I said, "Wow, you read it already?" "Yeah, did you really write this?" "Yeah." "Mind if I show it to Bob?" "Yeah." "Okay." And then he just, boom. "Okay." Didn't know what was going on. Then the next day, I got another knock on the door. And I open the door, and there's Bob and the band. Bob said, "Did you write this?" I go, "Yeah, what's going on?" He said, "Get in the car." So we all piled in this station wagon, the band, Dylan and me, and we go to his manager's house. And he wakes his manager up. This is like 11 o'clock in the morning or 10 o'clock in the morning. Not bad,
Uh-huh.
But they wake him up, the manager. They wake him. He comes down in his pajamas and bathrobe, and we're in the kitchen. And he goes, "Whoa, what's going on?" He says, "Larry just wrote this. You should sign him. Sign him. He's a funny guy, and he wrote this, and he needs a manager."
Uh-huh.
So he and Bob hands him this thing, this writing, and he doesn't look at it. He just takes it in his hand, and he goes, and I guess, and they all said, "Yeah, he's funny. He's funny. You should sign him. You should sign him." And this is the answer to your question. He said, "He's too tall to be funny." And that kind of put the kibosh on the whole party.
That's funny.
Nobody knew what to say. I mean, they couldn't say, "No, he's not tall."
Uh-huh.
Then no, but he's funny. No, he's too tall to be funny.
Uh-huh.
And then he said, "I'm going back to bed." And then he just went back to bed. So they handed the thing back to me and they said, "Well," and Bob said, Oh, he said, well, then how about getting this published in Playboy? He said. And he says, no, I'm going back to bed. Boom. He said, well, and then Bob says to me, he says, well, that was my shot, man. Sorry.
Well, that was nice of him.
So they drove me back home, and that was the end of that. So I went home. Years later, I met the guy who paid me, the guy from Warner Brothers, the producer who paid Robbie to pay me. A whole lot of money, thousands of dollars. And I saw him at an airport, and I recognized him, and he saw me. So I just went over to him. And as I'm walking over to him, and I hadn't talked to him or seen him since way back a couple of years since that happened, you know. But he knew exactly why I was walking towards him. Because before I got to him, he said, "It's okay. Don't worry about it." He knew I was going to, I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry. No, it's okay. Don't worry about it. We wrote it off. Don't worry. Yeah. So yeah, being tall, I still, I think I knew finally what he was talking about. In movies, the shorter you are, the funnier you can be, because you can beat up tall, you know, you can win over tall people.
Yeah.
Which is what Charlie Chaplin's whole shtick was.
Yeah.
He was so tiny that he was always a hero.
Yeah.
You always get these big fat guys to be, you know, the enemy.
Right.
So I think that's maybe what, but as far as stand-up, no, there's a lot of tall stand-up comedians. Yeah,
there is. Yeah, there certainly is now. And it's funny how, I mean, you've been in movies and TV for a long time. It's funny how you don't understand the height of the people on the screen until I see you come up, because it's all relative to you. So,
right. Everybody else is the same height. So you don't know.
And so everybody's a head shorter than you. And I'm like, okay, so they're all about, you know, 5'7", 5'8", and there's Larry.
I didn't realize that until in the beginning of my career. That did play a big factor. They would say he's too tall for the star he's going to be with.
Yeah,
you can't be. That was a rule. You can't be taller than the star you're with. That was a rule for a long time. It doesn't apply anymore. But back when I first started, he's too tall for the part.
Yeah,
there's nothing you can do about that.
Yeah,
you know, and like there's a big time Shane. You know the movie Shane?
Yeah.
Okay, the
Gary
star
Cooper.
Of that. Who is that? Who is the star of
Gary Cooper?
No. Gary Cooper. It was his father was the head of a studio.
Let me see if I can find it.
Whoever the star of Shane was, the guy who played Shane, he was very short. Very short. Now, when movies first started, I don't know if you know this, but a lot of people in Hollywood know this, that a lot of the stars in the black and white, silent movies definitely, and then when silence started to go black and white, all the stars then in that era were short and had big heads. This is true. And that was one of the, like, he's too tall to be an actor. He's short and got a big head. He can be an actor.
Wow.
And the reason was for the close-ups. And when you're walking and doing like a cowboy, you know, where from your belt to your head, that's called cowboy. Well, you want to have somebody with a big face. I don't know the real reason, but it's true, and it's been published that way. I mean, it's a little known but well documented fact.
Yeah.
Now it doesn't. You know, that fell away.
Right.
For a while. So I mean, things that you couldn't change had a lot to do with whether you were hired or not.
Yeah.
Being tall, having a big head, being short, being tiny and funny. Weird rules, man. But yeah, it comes into play.
Yeah. So tell me about the committee and how that started.
Well, okay. So I was being pulled off the stage by the police is how that started.
Okay.
I was opening for the Kingston Trio. I was doing my God stuff, my genitalia stuff, my legal stuff. And I got into the God thing actually with the little guy on the thing. It seems that God and a little guy, that was what tipped off audiences. You'd get him off the stage, call the police. So I was in the middle of my bit. Everything was going great. I was opening for Love and Spoonful. It's a big arena, Washington University in St. Louis, Missouri. Big time. And laugh. And I go, okay, now let's talk about God. Wow. I just felt, about, I don't know, 2,000-3,000 sphincters just shut like that. And I just kept going, but I felt it, man. There's a thing you can just feel. And I said, okay, and I'm going to get this little guy, and I put him on a thing. Nothing, silence out there. And I said, oh, what is this little thing between your legs? Boo, get off the stage. Boo, get off the stage. I mean, boo. I said, and I just was blown away. Okay, Kingston Trio, beer bottle, a Starker. I understand that. College students?
Yeah.
Rock and roll? Come on, man. So that's what I said to them. I said, wait a minute. You're college students. What is the rock and roll show? What are you booing? How could you boo? They shut up for that.
Yeah.
Me talking to them, that was cool. Whoa, hey, he's talking to us. Wow. So I said, so that they calmed down. They shut up. Very cool. And I said, yeah, I mean, that's ridiculous. Okay. So where was I? Oh, yeah. Okay. So what do you got between the boo, boo, boo? And they erupted. Now they started pulling the armrests off of the seats in this arena, in this auditorium. So the wooden armrests, they pulled them off and were throwing them up on the stage, the first 3 rows.
Oh, no.
Get off the stage. Boom, get off. And the Love and Spoonful off in the wings there going, no, keep talking. What are you, crazy, man? No, stay out there. They wanted a riot. They wanted publicity.
Yeah.
So they kept, so, oh man, a riot, a real riot. So I'm going, no. And I go, wait, stop. And they stopped. I go, no, this is all ridiculous, and they say, so I said, I'm gonna go on with this anyway. No. I said, okay. I made a deal with them. That's what stopped them. I said, okay. No more God stuff. I'll do the clean stuff. And I, I chose what was clean, what was okay. And I did that. And then they were fine. They blah, blah, blah. So I went about 10 more minutes and I started to get the big laughs that you expect and stuff. So when I got this really big laugh, I go, okay, now we're going to talk about God. Well, that's and I started talking about God. And then they got really angry, but they had no more, armrests to pull off. They were all littered on the stage. So I said, because they had the lights on, and they had the lights on. I see in the back row, no girls ever threw anything. I didn't see any girls throw any. I see in the back row, the guys in the back rows are pulling their armrests off and passing them down. Here's ammunition. The caissons come rolling down. And then boom, boom. And as they're throwing this and passing the stuff down, I see a phalanx of cops, 10 cops on each wall aisle, come marching down up on the stage. And I just stood there, in silence, and they stopped throwing the stuff, watching the cops come up, and they just, both of them, not angry. I don't think these cops understood why they were taking this person off the stage. They weren't there for the whole show. Yeah. They just arrived, and they said, he's up there now. And they just piled in, and there was this one guy on stage, and they had calmed down when they saw the cops. So there's nothing going on. And they come up and they just very nicely took me by one arm each, a cop each, guarded by 18 other cops. Yeah. And walked me off the stage to the applause of the audience. And then they held me back there. Didn't hold me. They just stood by me. And I go, it's empty back there. There's nothing going on back there.
Mm-hmm.
So the other cops split. The 18 cops just left.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm standing there with these two guys. I said, what's going on now? And they said, we have to guard you until the Love and Spoonfuls start playing. And I go, why? And they go, well, because you're going to run out there and do it again. So we just stood there while the stage crew put up the musical instruments, and then they started to play. And once they started to play, they said, all right, bye. I go, bye, that was it. And bada. So it's just a long story to how I got, but I enjoy these stories.
Yeah, that's a great story.
So we fly now because I was with the Love and Spoonful, and I was part of their group.
Uh-huh.
So we flew together and took buses together.
Mm.
We're going up to Northwestern University, which is up in Michigan. So we flew up, get on a bus, go to the hotel, get out, we check in, and as we're going to the elevators, 3 men stand between us and the elevators. And these are the 3 men. A police captain, a priest in the white collar, the whole shtick, white hair, white collar, and a gentleman in a suit with white hair who turned out to be the dean of Northwestern.
Ah.
And they say, is there a Larry Hankin in the group? So the 2 managers who were with us, there was 4 Love and Spoonful, Larry Hankin, and 2 managers. Okay. The 2 managers immediately step between the group and the 3 guys. And they say, what is this about? And they say, we've had a phone call from Washington University, from the dean. And they turn to us immediately and they say, and they didn't mention my name. They just pointed like this. They go, I want you gentlemen to go up to his room. They pointed to me, but they didn't want to say my name, so it would identify me. They were cool. They said, go up to his room, lock the door, don't let anybody in except us 2. We go, okay. And we just silently went in, got in, and they just guarded. And now in the room, they're the Love and Spoonful are just saying, you got to do your show, man. You got to do your show. You got to do it, man. But they wanted a riot so badly. I mean, after a while, I was thinking, well, man, riot may not be that bad. For you guys. And I said, wait a minute, for me, that's not good. No, comedians for riots is not good.
Yeah.
I'm thinking Lenny Bruce, man, the cops just murdered him.
Oh, yeah.
It's literal. Well, no, what's the opposite? Literally or figuratively?
Figuratively, yeah.
Figuratively. So we stood, and then finally there's a knock on the door. And who is it? It's us. Okay, they let us in. All right, we made a deal. Here's the deal. Okay, they don't want you to go on, they said to me. They don't want the comedian to go on. Definitely, they say, we go, why? I said, the dean of Washington University called the police here and said that the Love and Spoonful have a filthy-mouthed comedian opening for them. In those days, a filthy-mouthed comedian was like the death warrant.
Yeah.
That was Lenny Bruce. That was a filthy-mouthed comedian, and I was a filthy-mouthed comedian. So they said, you got to go on, man. You got to go on. And they said, well, here's the deal. The deal is he can go on if he doesn't do any filthy mouth material. The minute he does any kind of filthy mouth material, they're shutting out the lights and the concert is off. So it's up to you guys. We're going to dinner. And then they split. They don't want any part of it. So we're discussing now. You got to do it. I said, yeah, but it's good for you, but not for me. But I said, well, fuck it, man. I'm going to do my act. Let's see what happens. So I went out and I just did verbatim the act I was going to do for Washington University. Nothing. They just laughed and it was nothing happened. No riot. No, they only laughed. So that was that. But I called my manager, who by now was Woody Allen's manager, Jack Collins. And I said, hey, Jack, man, I can't go through this. I'm a middle class Jewish kid. I'm not prepared for this cop thing and this bullshit that's going on. It's not fun anymore.
Mm,
I was doing it for the fun, not for the money.
mm,
The travel. I was doing it for the. I love making people laugh, and it's not how. So he said, "Why don't you join Second City, and then you own the theater, and you talk about the same thing Lenny Bruce talks about, but they throw the people out, not the actors out."
mm.
And I go, "Okay." So I auditioned for Second City with Robin Williams, as a matter of
Wow.
fact. Strange.
Cool.
Coincidence. I don't
Yeah.
know. So I auditioned for Second City, and I got in, and then I was there for 2 months, 3 months, and we had too many people in the company. It was 9 people.
Mm,
It only works with 5 or 6 people because it's all improv, so nobody knows when
Right.
or they're not going to go on. And there's 9 people. Sometimes people don't go on at all. So they let us go. Me and Jack Burns. They let us go. And I was couch surfing in Chicago with no income for about 2 weeks. And then a guy named Alan Meyerson, who I auditioned for Second City in New York, came through and said, where is there a guy comes? I was in the bar. I hadn't worked, but I would hang around the theater. They were the only people I knew
mm.
in Chicago. So I'd go to the theater every night and just hang out until I had, went back to my couch, whose couch I was sleeping on. And a guy comes in and says, "Is there a Larry Hankin down here?" I go, "Yeah, me, what?" He goes, "There's a car outside. They want to talk to you." I go, "Oh, now what?" I go out. It's a snowstorm outside, Chicago, middle of the week. And there's a car out there. It's a station wagon. It's packed. It's got trunks and all kinds of bullshit piled on top. And the car is jam-packed with people and 2 kids. So like 7 people at least, minimum, in the car. Basically, it was Alan Meyerson, the director of the committee, his wife, 3 or 4 other actors and 2 kids and all their stuff on the top. And they say, "Hop in." What do you mean hop in? I mean, I knew them from the audition, but where are you going? "We're going to San Francisco. We're going to start the committee. We want you." And I go, "No way, man. I mean, you got a theater?" "No." "Well, yeah. Well, we're going to raise money out there." "No, look, send me a ticket. I'm going back to New York. That's the only home I know. So send me a plane ticket. I'm not going. Goodbye." And I went back inside and pulled away. And then sure enough, 2 weeks later, I got a plane ticket. So I just flew out because I had nothing going on. And I flew out to the committee. And in the 2 weeks, I guess they had called ahead and had done all this pre-work before they even drove to Chicago for me. And they had a theater being started. They were building, they had hollowed out a Chinese supermarket, a small one, a mart, but enough for a theater, big enough for a theater, 500-seat theater.
Yeah.
And they were building it. So we rehearsed in this theater and also with the Mime Troupe, which was a famous company in San Francisco already. And we shared rehearsal space. And that's how the committee started with, and the rule was in the beginning, once the theater was built, we rehearsed for 2 months, 2 or 3 months, and the theater was finished. And we opened the theater, advertised. And the rule was, the first rule was don't quit your day gig. I didn't have a day gig. So like anybody who had a day gig, don't quit it. We don't know what's going on. And then the second thing was, if there was more people in the audience than was on stage, we didn't have to do a show. So we did that for a while. There's only 4 people in the audience.
Yeah.
Well, we have 6 people in the show, so we don't have to go on. Yay! And we still get it. Yay! So it was like $150 a week, I think we were getting.
Yeah.
Well, that went on for a while, and then one day, man, and I'll never forget this. This is one of my big days of my life. We were inside rehearsing the afternoon of like a Saturday night show. We were rehearsing a couple of new things. So we were inside until the box office opened. So we were in like from 3 till 6:30 or something like that.
Mhm.
So right before that we broke up to, go have dinner or something like that. You got a half hour before the show starts, whatever. I said, I'm going to go outside for a second just before they broke it up. So it was about 6:30. I go outside and there is a line around the block.
Wow.
I'm not talking about around the corner. I'm saying the end of the line was here and the beginning of the line was here.
Yeah.
Around the block. I mean, it blew my mind. I ran across the street just to see the whole thing. It was amazing. And I ran back inside and I got my best friend at the time, Hamilton Camp, he was a folk singer at the time. Gibson and Camp, folk singer, Gibson.
Mm-hmm.
Got Hamilton, come outside, quick. What, man, what? No, you got to see this, man. And I took him outside. Holy cow, line around. And then we walked the line. We walked all the way around the block, just saying hello to people, just all the way around the block. Just mind. And from then on, that's all we had.
So did somebody discover you and the word of mouth got out, or what happened to make that happen?
Or the committee in particular?
The committee to fill up that theater.
It was just word of mouth, man.
Yeah.
Because also it was a Berkeley and the Berkeley Steps and Mavio Savio.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was the 60s, man. We were there a couple of months before the 60s exploded. And when it exploded, and I'm talking about exploded, we were on the cusp of the new comedy, the new. I mean, it was Nixon. In other words, everybody was hating everything that was going on. The 60s, the Vietnam War, and everything like that. And we were doing that stuff. And all of a sudden, Mavio Savio at Berkeley was saying, hey, man, Vietnam is bad. Nixon is bad. This is bad. This is bad. The committee is doing that kind of stuff. Let's go see him. And boom. So the 60s came through the door. Every star in the United States came through our door for 5 years, easy. From 1960 until 65. And then we just kind of leveled off, and I stayed the whole time. I was there from the opening doors to the closing doors, 10 years, the 60s to the 70s. By 67, we were just getting, crowds and stuff, like a normal theater. We were doing fine. But it wasn't, we weren't, the taste of the week, the clothing of the week, the uniform. But in that time, Penny Marshall, like every star in Hollywood, was flying up because we were as famous then as Second City. But people in Hollywood who wanted to go to see Second City, that was like a plane flight and a hotel thing. And it was like 2-3 days. It was a weekend.
All right.
For San Francisco, you could fly up for $35 round trip. Fly up in the afternoon, see the show. You could actually sleep in your bed at night if you wanted to get a late flight, or you just sleep over in a hotel and fly up and fly back the next day, which they did because they could see the next day. You fly up late Saturday afternoon, see a show, go to a hotel, then tour San Francisco for a half a day and fly back. It was like a little, mini vacation.
Mm-hmm.
So all the stars. So we were known down there, and we were being flown back and forth. Hey, come on down, do a TV sitcom. But Penny Marshall was the one who discovered me. She specifically said, get Larry Hankin down here because she was doing Laverne and Shirley, and she wanted to, the episode that she wanted me for a specific episode, was Laverne and Shirley were going to their prom. And Laverne, Penny Marshall, there was a dance sequence, and she wanted a physical comedian. And she said, Larry Hankin is she mentioned
Yeah.
tall. She said he's a tall physical comedian, which I am. So she said, I want to dance with him, get him down. And I wanted that to be so. And then he told me that, So I went down and I did the thing. And the rehearsal was really funny because we were rehearsing a dance routine.
Mhm.
Now, she's a physical comedian. She really is.
Oh, yeah.
She's more physical than she is like verbal, but TV sitcoms are verbal. So she did that.
Right.
But she wanted to make it physical, like dips and twirls and, she wanted to make a thing out of it because she thought, well, Larry can do that. So let's do it. So we're rehearsing and she wanted to do this dip where I dipped her and I dropped her. Now, she knows how to fall. She's really a good physical. She probably could be a stunt person if she ever wanted. Back in the day, she could have been a stunt person. So she said, just drop me. So I didn't want to do that because I was afraid I would injure her. I was just looking out for my job and I don't know. So I said, well, what about if I dropped you on the couch? In other words, I dipped you by the couch and you fell on it and then I fell on you. See, then I don't hurt you, but then I can get myself into the joke. She said, fine. She just wants to be funny. She doesn't care about who does the thing, I mean, she's really great. So we're rehearsing and all of a sudden we hear, hey, what's going on? And is that like, well, no, okay. Something else I just spoke about. She said, hey, what's going on? And you look up and it's the producer director of the show, Gary Marshall.
Yeah.
Her brother. He says, what's going on? And she says, well, we're rehearsing the dance thing. She says, no, you're not. What's this touchy-feely going on? I go, what? And she says, what are you talking about? She says, this there with the couch thing. He's laying on you. What is this touchy-feely? No, there's no touchy-feely here. And this is a dance routine. We're rehearsing a dance routine. He says, well, you rehearse the dance routine with no touchy-feely. That's all. Okay, you got it? And I look at Penny. I go, I mean, it's her idea, I didn't say that, but I'm looking at her like, what's going on? And she just shrugs and she said to me, he's my older brother. It's like family.
Yeah.
Okay, so we cut that. I don't, whatever. I mean, the crap that you run into, there's no way you can think ahead to that kind of, critical thinking doesn't work in situations like that. Just what? What? So that's how okay, so I do the show. Okay. And then I get a call about 3 days later after it aired. And I think he was even before it aired. But 3 days later, I get a call. Hi, my name is so-and-so. I'm an agent. Do you have an agent? No. I hear you didn't have an agent. That's why I called. Would you like one? Yeah. How about coming in? I go, okay, fine. And so I went in and we just talked for, I don't know, 2 or 3 minutes. He goes, you want an agent? Yeah. How about me? You're fine. Okay. Let's go. Boom. And I said, wait a minute. How do you even know that I exist? I'm in San Francisco. I just came down here for this little thing here. He says, well, what we do is, which I thought was kind of cool. He said, me and my partner, we just, every once in a while, go to production companies. We in person, we don't call. We go in person and we say, any new interesting people come through, that you auditioned. Any interesting people come through that don't have an agent. And they said, yeah, there's a guy, Larry Hankin, tall guy. He was racing. He's kind of funny. He doesn't have an agent. We just called him. He's okay. And then that's how I got into show business. That's how and then the money was so good. And that's the trap. The money is so good. You drop your thing.
Yeah.
I stopped doing stand-up. I was making so much money. I didn't have to work.
Right.
I didn't have to tour. Um, I would just wait by the phone, and every 2 or 3 weeks I would get a job, or 4 weeks, and you get enough money so that you can save, through the dry times.
Uh-huh.
So it didn't. They pay you a lot of money, but over a year, it doesn't come to a lot of money at all, because
Yeah.
you're paying rent when you're not working all that time.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's just an ordinary show. But at least I didn't have to tour, which is kind of making, because I was alone,
Mm-hmm.
no agent, or nobody was booking my flights for me or getting hotels and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how I started doing TV sitcom, I think, to the detriment of my psyche. After a couple of years, it started to depress me,
Mm-hmm.
because I was saying other people's words, and I made my bones by working off the top of my head.
Yeah.
And I'd been very successful opening for really big acts. I did the Playboy circuit.
Mm-hmm.
I worked Las Vegas. And then but they're paying you so much money, you think,
Yeah.
in one lump sum, that you go, well, I don't have to do this anymore. So yeah, it was like a vacation for the first year or two, and then you start going, and then sometimes you're standing on a set, and I'm standing on a set looking at myself in the mirror, and I'm going, what's a grown man like you, Larry, doing, wearing this stuff here? Why are you saying these words? These are not your words, Larry.
Mm-hmm.
So it starts to, and then finally, but then you get something like working with John Huston, or Bill Hader, or Larry David, or John
Yeah.
Huston, or you go, well, it's worth it, kind of. Wow, I mean, because I was never in it for the money. I was always in it for cool stuff that I thought was cool, like working with
Right.
John Huston. I didn't ask what the salary was. John Huston, you got to audition for John Huston. I'm there.
Yeah.
That,
Yeah. No doubt. Thinking about what, obviously the saying other people's lines and working off a script and stuff like that, that was
yeah.
what brought on the depression. But you have you've gained a respect within the industry that, don't people give you a little bit of leeway now? They let Larry
Oh yeah.
Hankin be Larry Hankin.
Yeah, but in the beginning, they're paying you a lot of money, so you can just keep your mouth shut and do
Yeah.
what we say. But you're
Right.
paying me so much money, and then the go-to argument is, then don't take the job.
Uh-huh.
Okay, I mean, I get it.
Yeah.
So what are you complaining about? You're saying words you don't like? Why did you take the job? Because they paid me so much money. Then shut your mouth. And I mean, they don't. It's not that. There's no anger in
Uh-huh.
Hollywood. That's my anger. That's
Yeah.
not theirs. They're not.
Mhm.
They just say, just say the words and hit your mark.
Mhm.
They're very nice. They're very nice people. Very very social.
So
It's just not how I work.
yeah.
But to answer your question specifically, if I keep the word of either work with the rules and the director, or don't take the job.
Mhm.
So I know I don't like saying these words, but I took the job, so I know my place.
Mhm.
And when I'm in front of the camera, I'm serious.
Mhm.
This is what I do for a living.
Right. Right.
So I don't, if the camera is on, I'm a professional person,
Mhm.
and there's no getting around that. I mean, I can joke with you all I want in these
Right.
stories, but if there's a camera and they turn it on and they say "Action, Larry," I'm not Larry. I'm the
Yeah.
character, and I do what tells the story of the narrative.
Right. So with your, I mean, you talk a lot about the dyslexia and ADHD, which I've got a little bit of the ADHD myself. And how are you able to memorize your lines when you've got so many things going on in your head? Because that's a problem that comics have, and a lot of comics have ADHD because it's it it's just kind of runs in our pedigree. But how do you have a system to know the lines and stuff like that? What do you do?
I get the script as early as possible. It's in my contract,
Hmm.
but that's all.
Yeah.
The rest is like fucking sweat and you just got to shut yourself in a room and just do it until you get it.
Hmm.
It's that's the other downside of being a dyslexic and an actor. That's why I'm not
Hmm.
an actor. I'm not an actor. I'm a stand-up storyteller.
Right. Right.
That's what I am. That's what I was born to be. That's what I am until I die. But I can act. And if
Hmm.
you give me the right part, I can do it really well. But yeah, but the example that I use, oh, pardon me, I'm gonna sneeze. Well, it'll come when it comes. What I use is, the movie Mr. and Mrs. Smith.
Hmm.
It's Brad Pitt and what's her name?
Hmm.
Yeah. Okay. So they do this fight scene in the movie where they're in a house and they're arguing and they both have guns and they're shooting at one another and yelling at one another and liking one another and loving one another and hating one another and fighting and shooting.
Hmm.
I can't do that.
Yeah.
That's acting.
Yeah.
I'm not an actor. So I know there's certain thing. I'll just turn it down because I can't do it.
Hmm.
Now, some parts I just did that a couple of days ago.
Hmm.
Somebody gave me a part and they said, "Oh my God, you are this person. I'll send you the script." I go, "Okay, send me the script." And it was a great part. It was like I think it was a co-star. It was a co-starring role, or I don't know, second banana, whatever they call it.
Hmm.
Too many
That's
words.
great.
Too many words. I turned it down.
Oh,
But I
wow.
told her the truth. It was a female director,
Mhm.
writer, female writer. I said, it's too many words. I can't memorize it. I
Mhm.
mean, in the old days, I would have tried to memorize it. And if they gave me the script soon enough, I could have memorized it. But I am doing too many things. And I had to stop doing everything to memorize these lines. Now, I could do it. If I wanted to stop everything, I'm writing this script. I'm rehearsing with that person for something of my own. But this is my own time now. So,
Mhm.
but I told her, I said, it's just too many lines. Now, back in the day, like 5 years ago, before it was my own time, for old Joe or Big Joe or what, Vince Gilligan, El Camino, the
Mhm.
Breaking Bad movie. That I didn't have too many lines, so I did it. The last show I did, the last TV show of Breaking Bad I did, that's when I quit.
Yeah.
Because I didn't quit. I just I'm retiring now for a
Mhm.
while. Was because I only had 5 lines in the show, and I thought, great, old Joe has only 5 lines. I can do that. They don't have to send me it early. I did these long things that I have to get it early.
Right.
And they're fine. And I show up, and it was just keeping the cop out of the Winnebago. They were
Yeah.
hiding in the Winnebago. The cop wanted to
Mhm.
get in, and I had all this legal stuff. So I show up. It was just a couple of lines. It was just 5 lines. I
Mhm.
shot in the morning for 5 lines, which I did really well in the morning
Mhm.
with Brian inside the Winnebago. And then in the afternoon, we did the cop keeping him out. And so I have lunch, and I come back from lunch, and there's my new sides on the dresser. And it's an entire speech, a monologue, a full space,
Yeah.
1 page of just me. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Those things. And no, I can't remember them unless you give it to me prior. But this is 2 hours before I had to go on.
Mhm.
I called the AD and I said, "What is this?" And they said, "Oh, well, Vince liked your audition so much, your acting so much, whatever. that he told the Siri just talked to me.
Yeah.
Digital. So he liked you so much that he asked to one of the writers to write you a monologue. And I go, no, I can't do that. No, no. I mean, no, there's no way. Well, and I start to freak out. I just started to break down. I go, no, you don't understand. AD just split. I got it's not my business. You get out of it. How long do I have? 2 hours. So I tried to remember it. Nothing there. I couldn't remember it. So here's the other thing. Like I don't know. I mentioned this before, but I have no compunction about being fired, losing the job. I don't care. I've been here, done this. I don't care. And I'm not an actor. Okay, so I thought, all right, I'm going to be fired. But I'm not going to cop to it. I'm not going to say I can't do this.
Yeah.
That's unprofessional. I'm going to try to do this. So maybe I can improvise it. I'm an improviser, 10 years improvising. And I try to memorize it. Okay, I get a knock on the door. You're up. You're on. Okay, I said, oh, let's see. But I also have a backup because I figured out how to do it if they shot it in sections, because you cut to you, cut to me, cut to him, cut to you, cut to me. If they chop it up like that, I could probably remember the sections easily or easier. So that's what I figured. Okay. So I go up to the director. He goes, oh, hi, Larry. How you doing? It's all jaunty jolly. He shot me in the morning. We were all cool. So, all right, this is going to be great. Okay. So I say, hey, by the way, I figured out how we could shoot this. He goes, oh, really? You know how to shoot this? The director says to me, well, how should we shoot this, Larry? And I said, we should break it up, see? And he goes, well, that's a good idea. That's really a good idea. But we're going to do a walk and talk, Larry. Get down there for 100 feet away from the camera and just walk towards the camera. We're going to do it in one take. Then you're going to go home. Just like that. So you'll be out of here in what? 15 minutes. He says, is that okay with you? Yeah. Yeah, it's okay. Anything wrong? No, it's fine. Okay, get down there. All right. Okay, I get down there and he goes, okay, you ready, Larry? Yeah, I'm ready. Okay, and action, Larry. So, okay, I'm going to improvise it. I'm going to improvise it. So I start improvising. Now, here's the one thing I got to say for me. In the entire walk of improvising, I got the first line perfectly right because I memorized that. For the entire thing, I never made an or a or a mistake about. I never fumfered. It was just me talking, improvising legalese to the best of my ability. And I get there, and the guy goes, and I'm thinking two things at the same time. I'm improvising, and I'm saying at the end of this, I'm going to be fired, but it's okay. Because I don't care. So it's okay. And I'm walking and talking. And I get down and he goes, cut. And I'm this far away from him. That's what, walk all the way down to you. I'm this far away from him. He says, great, Larry. And then I hear, I'm going to be fired. And he goes, let's just do it again just for insurance. I memorized the whole thing. Holy cow. And as I'm walking back, I said, fine. And as I'm walking back, I'm thinking, wow, well, now I don't have to worry, man. He's got it in the can. I can be, I can lose my place or whatever. I can make a mistake. Okay, so he's, all right, you ready? And I go, yeah. And then I see the script girl walking towards me. Now, the script girl is not a girl. It's a woman. I don't know where they got girl from. But anyway, she's walking towards me. And you know what a script girl is? She has you. She's watching. She's got the script. You got to say it as it's written. Yeah. So now generally they circle, whatever the word or the sentence you left out. And I'm drunk and jolly and I'm saying, okay, what did I miss? And she doesn't say anything. And she just shows me the page. Everything is circled. I've never seen a page like that. I'm 20 years of acting. 30 years. Never seen a page like that. And she says, he wants, and I said, well, I got the gist of it. And she says, no, the director wants you to say it as written.
Uh-huh.
I say, I want to talk to the writer. And she says, the director wrote it. I hear the director say, anything wrong, Larry? I go, no, it's fine. It's fine. And then I see him walking towards me with the book. And no, it's wrong. Everybody's walking towards me. That's not a good sign. You want to be walking towards them. So it's not, I knew, okay, I'm going to get fired. Okay, let's do this dance. Again, I go into Zen. I'm fine. I'm not nervous. He said, and he doesn't say anything to me. He just stands right by me and he says, okay, I'm going to give it to you from here. He yells to the cameraman. He says, don't you want to stand by the camera? No, I'm going to walk with my actor. And he's got the book. And I'm thinking, well, I even said to him, I said, you're going to walk with me? Like, this is kindergarten now? You know, it was just, I'd rather be fired. I mean, that's what I was thinking. I'd rather be fired. I can't do this. This is not fun, man. This is okay. Okay. And he says, you okay with this? I go, yeah, it's fine. It's fine. And he goes, okay, action. And he's walking with me, and I'm doing the same thing. I got the first line right. I'm making it up. Boom, 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 boom. And he's walking, and he's walking right out of camera range. He's right off my shoulder. And he's walking, and I see he's walking with me. And he's got his head buried in the fucking book. And he's walking, and I get to the end, and now I'm going to get fired. And he says, okay, that's a wrap. Moving on. Thank you, Larry. Sending him home, and the car is right here. The limo is right here. Because we're in the middle of the desert. It's in 45-minute drive back to the production company. So the car's waiting. I can't even ask, what happened? Well, what did I do? I get in the car, I drive back, and I have to wait now. Because I don't understand what, I didn't think I was that brilliant. I didn't believe that I had done what it seems that I had done. There's no way that I could be that right.
Mm-hmm.
And so I waited 2 weeks for it to show up. And here's what they did. And this is why movie is so incredibly great. It's very plastic. What they did was, if you watch the show, I am in that scene keeping the cop out of the Winnebago for exactly 7 seconds. But if I ask my friends, what did you see that day that I did the Breaking Bad? So, well, you were walking and talking and keeping the cop out of the Winnebago. Yeah, that's yeah. But what did you see? Not what you think you saw. What did you see? You were walking and talking and keeping the cop out of the Winnebago. No, you didn't see that. You saw me for 7 seconds. You saw the cop, Aaron, and him for the rest of the 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 minutes of that scene. I was what they did was, and the director, after I said the first line, the first time, he knew I was making it up. He knew I didn't have any idea of what the fuck was going on. He wrote it. He's listening to his words being totally avoided. But what he knew was, because he was a director and he knew how to make movies, he says, all right, I will just take what he's saying, which I was saying the right kinds of things, and he added it together as a voiceover. I'm a voiceover in that scene. I talk and talk. They cut to him. You hear my voiceover. You cut to Brian. You cut to Aaron voiceover. Cut to the cop. Cut to me when I say something cool that I had made up but was right. And then boom. So 2 seconds. Boom, 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 boom. 2 seconds. Boom, 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 boom. 3 seconds. Boom, 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 boom. He's off. Boom. Brilliant.
Yeah.
You never know it. You watch a scene, you think I'm walking and talking, and movies is magic, man.
Yeah.
That's the name of the company my friend has, called Movies is Magic. So, you do what you have to do. And I've never been fired. I've never been fired. Nobody's ever called me on my dyslexia.
Uh-huh.
because I've always gotten the script far enough ahead so that I show up. But you're the first person who's ever mentioned the fact that other comedians have dyslexia. I kind of thought that's what was going on, but I never knew.
Hmm.
So that was like, I learned something on.
Yeah, it's fairly common. Dyslexia,
Wow.
depression, ADHD, all the good stuff.
Oh
So
yeah, all the good stuff. Right, I got that. So I am a born comedian
yeah.
and not an actor.
Yeah.
Although they probably have their own problems too. Yeah.
But thinking about what you suffer from, first off, when you were growing up, there was no diagnosis for that stuff, and
Fucking
they
right,
just called you
Tim, man.
hyperactive, right?
I had a very weird childhood, or as it was known later on, I had a quirky childhood. No, I
Uh-huh.
suffered for it. No, I was bullied. I was beat up. Oh man, I was mistaken. I would make the wrong decisions.
Hmm.
I have had guns held to my head because I was in the wrong place and said the wrong thing at the
Hmm.
exactly right time.
Yeah.
Okay, this guy's a cop. Let's get him out of here. Oh man, I've had knives to my, okay, all right. No. You don't understand.
Yeah.
It wasn't my childhood up until I went to college was a nightmare.
Uh-huh. But you would not be able. Okay, so let's talk about this short film you've got out. Well, the mockumentary, How to Become an Outlaw. I mean, you've got some what I would call like soliloquies in there that I know you probably would not be able to do if you didn't have the ADHD, because you are so good at thinking on your feet that you just stand up there and say it,
No, thank you
or
for.
it looks like that.
Well, yeah. So thank you. Thank you. No, the clue that you just said was these are my movies.
Uh-huh.
I have all the freaking time in the world to memorize my own stuff.
Yeah.
And I don't do it until I have it memorized.
Uh,
So it takes me months for that stuff.
yeah.
But I won't do it until I got it memorized. So nobody knows how long it takes me to memorize stuff. You
Yeah.
just see me doing it. Oh,
Yeah.
I mean, I have stuff in the film and songs that I've written that I've sung
Mhm.
non-professionally. I'm not a good singer.
Yeah.
But, I write a song, I want to sing it. They're very, very long. But the way I would practice it is I get these I got this. A Dylan songbook. It's generally the best songs he's ever written
Mhm.
in a big, huge, it's about that thick.
Mhm.
Well, it's about that thick. A songbook. And I take his longest songs, some of them are 7 minutes, 5 minutes, and I'll play them until I memorize them just to get my mind, because something already written, I've heard them sung. It's kind of in there. I got the rhythm. It's musical, so there's a beat to it.
Mhm.
And that helps memory. So Shakespeare is not as hard as it is, as you would think, to memorize because of the rhythm of it and the
Yeah.
beat
Yeah.
and the excellent writing and the logic of how he lays it out.
Mhm.
There's a form. So I would practice on Dylan songs, on long songs, to get my mind ready to now memorize what I had written.
Mhm.
And so, I mean, in other words, I have all these things, but it's, how you deal with it, the preparation. It's preparation. It's process. To me, it's all process. What I talked to you about, how I got to my stand-up, that's process.
Mhm.
How I get the lines months or weeks or days ahead. That's my process.
Mhm.
When I was working for Bill Hader, and I wanted to work for Bill Hader. So when they called me, this is recently, about a year ago, I love Bill Hader. I think I love his sense of humor, his ability to improvise, his writing, his directing. The guy's cool, man.
Mhm.
And I wanted to work with him. So when they said, hey, I didn't question, long speech, short speech. I don't care. I'll do whatever it takes to work with him. I'll
Mhm.
be a professional when I get there. I don't care. So I got, and it was very short speech that I had, a very short scene. So there's no problem. I got it regularly. I didn't make any demands because they had showed me what the part was. I said, yeah, I'll do it. I mean, I didn't have to audition or anything.
Right.
They sent it to me. I said, yeah, I'll do it. So, but when I got there, see, here's the thing that I learned over the years about great directors. He's not great yet. Bill is not great yet, but he's going to be.
Yeah.
He's got it. He's one of those guys. So great directors that I work with, I'm talking about John Huston, talking about, well, I haven't worked, I opened for Woody Allen, but I haven't worked with him. I talked to him, but I haven't worked with him.
Yeah.
But I've talked to actors who have worked in his movies, and he's the same thing as John Huston and Larry David. They don't give you directions. John Huston told me the whole point is the casting. He said 80% of directing is casting. You cast the right actor, you don't have to direct them because of his choices. You see, he makes great choices. Why are you going to interrupt it? Anyway, so I'm working with Bill Hader, and he's not giving me any directions, and I'm nervous because I don't know how to do a Russian accent. You know, I mean, I got this Second City Committee improv Russian accent, which is not verisimilitude.
Yeah.
It's, you know, da. You know, if it's funny, it's great.
Yeah.
So they said, you know, well, would you mind if we had a Russian coach there for the accent? I said, no, that would help greatly. Thank you very much. But they asked me, they said, can you do a Russian accent? And I said, yes. You know, can you ride a horse? Yes, sure.
Yeah.
Can you jump off a bridge? Yes, sure. So I said, yes. So, but then they said, would you mind if we had a Russian? I go, no, that's really great. I show up. I can't find the Russian language coach. I looked. I was there a couple hours before. Nobody knew who it was. So, and then finally Bill Hader says, okay, you're up. Well, not him, but the AD says, you're up. It's your scene. Oh, God, I have to make it up, you know. Now I have to improvise a Russian accent. Not the words, but the accent. So the only thing I could think of was my committee or Second City accent, you know. So that's what I did, you know. And I was very afraid of making a fool of myself in front of Bill because I respected him so much. I didn't want to screw up for Bill. Right. So, you know, I'm doing the best I can, but he's not telling me anything. He's not saying anything. He's not, and it's a long day. I shot the whole day there. And it's take after take after take. And not saying a thing. So I'm getting worse and worse. My tension is finally it's over. And he finds, okay, it's a wrap for Larry. Hey, thank you, Larry. Great. So I thought, Bill, yeah, what? Can I just ask you something? Yeah, what? You never gave me any direction. Why didn't you? I mean, I was so nervous, man. I'm trying to do this accent. I'm trying to be good, you know, but you never said anything. Well, I just wonder, why didn't you give me any direction? He said, well, and his writing partner was there. His writing partner is there every day with him. So it says to me, well, see, we didn't write the part the way you were doing it. We didn't know what you were doing. We had no idea what you were doing, but it was working. So I didn't want to interrupt your process. I said, my process was fear of you discovering I don't know how to talk Russian or have an accent. That's my process. That's what was going through my mind the entire time. He says, well, worked fine. Thank you, Larry. but of course, you know, then when I got home and I read what I had done, yes, it could be interpreted as a funny piece. You know, a hitman who's going to kill you and then doesn't, I don't want to give away, you know, and then doesn't. It's kind of funny, and that's the way they wrote it. But I did it totally serious, man. I mean, for a hitman to end that way, you have to have some kind of problem.
Yeah.
So I gave him some stuff, I mean, the backstory of the head. Because
Yeah.
again, I don't, if you have a camera and there's film in it, uh, I'm serious.
Yeah.
I'm like schizophrenic, in a way, in that
Uh-huh.
way.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm dead serious. And then I think it is because I know I'm not an actor. So
Uh-huh.
I have to and then part of dyslexia and ADHD and OCD is the focus thing. That's why you can't memorize. Focus. Dyslexia screws around with your focus. So I have to
Mhm.
really
Yeah.
But luckily tension creates adrenaline and that helps my focus. So I
Yeah.
think that's why in front of a camera, I kind of pull it off every time.
Right.
The adrenaline of fear, the
Well,
fear.
and especially the comedic parts that you play, you don't play them as a comedy.
No, you
You
got to
play them
believe.
straight.
You got to believe that this is
Yeah.
real for the person who you
Yeah.
play.
And that's what makes it so real, and
Exactly.
it makes it funnier.
Right. Now that's not me. That's just a rule of comedy. That's
Yeah.
a rule of comedy. It's not funny if you think it's funny.
Yeah. Yeah.
The audience doesn't want to be told what's funny.
Yeah.
Let them make up their own minds, okay?
Yeah.
Because I would do my comedy routines when I was a stand-up comedy. I didn't know what laughs were.
Mhm.
Because I would get up there and just tell my day and hear the laughs.
Yeah.
And I would just remember, oh, this is funny.
Yeah.
Okay. Saved it.
Yeah.
But I to this day, and I see a lot of other writers do this, but it's the same thing. You write something and you give it to somebody. Hey, read this and tell me what you think. And you're standing right there, and they're reading it. And then all of a sudden they're reading and going, what's funny? What did you laugh at? What was that laugh? You want to know because I didn't know what's funny.
Right.
I've done that a lot. I've tried to write something lately, and you give it to somebody, and they laugh at what? What did you laugh at? What was that? Because you just don't know, and I don't see how Seinfeld can write bits. I don't see how comedians can write things because when I write something and I think it's funny, it generally isn't. I just write stuff, and then they say your stuff is funny.
Mm-hmm.
Like what's funny? Okay, what did I write? Something. I don't know. I wrote an essay a couple of months ago. It was an essay about something. Somebody asked me for a magazine article.
Mm-hmm.
So, an essay on blah, blah, blah. Okay. I mean, they didn't say it had to be funny. Just what do you think about the subject? So I wrote it, and then somebody had read it and said, hey, man, that was really funny. Oh, great.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah, I did it on purpose. I can't remember. It was something about show business.
Mm-hmm.
But it was a serious subject. It wasn't let me say it wasn't funny. It wasn't a funny subject.
Uh-huh.
So, but that's happened all throughout my life. I'll do something that I didn't think was funny, and then it's funny. So I guess there are naturally funny people, I guess.
Mm-hmm. I do a deep dive whenever I talk to people, and I came upon your cameos for that Cameo site that you do.
Wow.
And it's funny because right in the instructions you say, hey, don't give me a script, just give me a couple things to talk about, and I'll riff from there. And it's really great how in the moment you are on that, and those little cameos that are they're only a couple minutes long, but you take like maybe one or two things that somebody told you, and you can make a little story out of it. And on one of them, you talked about having an ostrich in your apartment and stuff like that. And I just, that is a gift that not everybody has. I certainly don't have it. And even for those little cameo things, you're really doing something that is meaningful type of dialogue from just about nothing.
You bet. Well, I mean, again, this just happened yesterday. 3 days ago. Say, I'm really. That's really weird. I don't understand a lot of things. I'm really big in India. I don't know why. I know that friends is distributed all over the world.
Mhm.
But India in particular, it just goes bonkers over Mr. Heckles.
Uh-huh.
No other country, no other character. It's
Mhm.
just India, Mr. Heckle. Okay, so I'm on a cameo-like thing in India,
Uh-huh.
where it's only in India. So, but in India, different countries have different rules, or not rules, but just the way people talk.
Right.
In India, they give you scripts. They
Mhm.
say, "Hey, Mr. Heckles, my friend is having a birthday. This is say this and say this and say this and say this." The script, say this,
Yeah.
and it rankles me because I can't memorize them easily.
Mhm.
But if you let me just talk, I can just knock it off. Okay,
Yeah.
so it just this particular person 3 days ago went way overboard on the say this and say this and say this. It's
Yeah.
a fucking script. I mean, this is, by the way, 2 minutes. You have 2 minutes to say it.
Yeah.
That's the given. So I said, so I just blew my top, and I wrote to the company, and I said, look, you got to stop. You got to stop this. I didn't know, by the way, that Cameo has that on their thing about don't give me a script.
Yeah.
Because I complained to them, so they put it up.
I really liked it.
It's really cool. Okay, so I texted India company, and I said, look, man, stop it. Tell these people I don't do scripts. And I was really angry, and it came out in the message.
Uh-huh.
Stop it. I can't do that. I don't work that way. Either let me do it my own way, or I'm off. I don't care. And so they were very apologetic. They're very apologetic people.
Yeah.
The Indian people. They're very nice and very courteous. And they said, oh my God, please, okay. And the next day, they sent me what they had put up on their thing. And it's exactly what you said Cameo has. Don't send him scripts, man.
Yeah.
Just give him little pieces. But what I do is, and I thought that was very cool of them. To do that. But the way that it works is, I worked it out myself. Again, the process. I have a standard thing that I memorized, which is about a minute of memorized thing. The ostrich is part of it, cat, and the other thing. And that's standard. So I have all those memorized. It's a minute. And then you give me like little stuff from your life, and I just kind of drop them in and bend it around. But I always know that, well, if I can't go any further, I just go back to the ostrich.
Yeah.
And then continue on from there, or I go back to the cat and then go on from there.
Yeah.
So, but it looks like, and I've got the character of Mr. Heckles. So it's so easy. It's my uncle.
Yeah. Okay.
Mr. Heckles is really my uncle.
Yeah.
I mean, he talked like that. He did those things.
Yeah.
So I can just drop into it. It doesn't take any, it's like, I remember, the Wayans brothers.
Yep.
Well, the older brother, the one who was the producer of them, and he's written other things. He's a really smart guy, man.
Yeah.
He is so financially Hollywood. He's great. But he based a lot of his early work on improvising and then writing down the improv. But since he was dealing with his ghetto friends who, a lot of them didn't have any laptops.
Yeah.
So what he would say, he'd get these groups of kids, of young people, not kids, but young people, to improvise, because he wanted to write down what they were saying. He keeps on doing it. But they didn't know how to improvise. That takes a little technique.
Yeah.
So he said, and this is so brilliant, and in all my years of being in improv and Second City and the committee, I've never heard this. And he said, everybody can improvise. There's no way you can't improvise. I want everybody to pick their parents. And I want you to improvise a little piece. Be your father. You be your mother. You be your mother. You be your father. And do this scene. And everybody can imitate their father or mother.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you're just imitating your father or mother. It has nothing to do with improv. You're just imitating. You're aping. Well, once you can ape, imitate, or improvise your mom and dad, which you can do, you understand, oh, that's what improv is.
Yeah.
You're just imitating something, something or somebody, you know, that's all it is. Now, if you're going to make a show about it where you're not just doing stuff in a cellar and somebody's writing down the best of what you're doing, not all of what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
If you're going to do a professional show, yeah, there's a process and there's a technique.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's not imitating your mom and dad.
Yeah.
But
you know,
for
funny
that you can do it.
that you say that, because I've always been afraid of improv myself, and I have a friend who is a big improv guy, and I would do stand up in between their improv shows, and he would try to pull me in to do improv with him, and I'd always just totally fuck it up. I couldn't do it. But I started doing this talk show on Thursdays, and I decided part of the talk show was that Dean Martin was cryogenically frozen, and they thawed him out, and he's okay now, but he's out of money, so he's staying with me. And I do an act, and so I become Dean Martin. And, hey, I'm a really bad Dean Martin, but I've been doing that. And my friend Steve is on the show with me a lot, and I've actually learned how to improv through doing that, because it's a yes and type thing, and it's really helped me to be more in the moment. And Steve actually mentioned it at one point and said, "Hey, you're getting a lot better, you know." And I didn't even know at that point.
Doing it.
Yeah.
Doing it makes you better.
Yeah. Yeah.
How do you get to Carnegie Hall?
Yeah. Practice.
Yeah, man. Pardon me. It works.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, we're getting up on the stage Monday night, open mics. Mm-hmm. I got better and better and better.
Yeah.
I mean, I just wanted to do it. I didn't, and I thought I could get a little better doing it, but I didn't realize that doing it really works.
Yeah, it really helps.
Yeah.
So I've taken up a lot of your afternoon. I got a couple more things I want to ask you. First off, can you tell me how you came up with Solly's Diner? That was the short you did that you got the Oscar nom for.
Well, how did I do that? Well, I grew up on Charlie Chaplin.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that was my favorite guy. It just stuck with me. I mean, so I grew up on Charlie Chaplin. Okay, forget about that. You know, that's like from 5 to like, say, 15.
Mm-hmm.
And then, you know, you go on to other things and blah, blah, blah. Okay, so now I got into show business, and let's see. Oh, I did Escape from Alcatraz.
Yeah.
And I got $35,000 to do that show.
Mm-hmm.
More money than I'd ever imagined in my entire life. Okay, so I got $35,000. I did the movie, great time. I paid off all my debts, which didn't have much. I was broke to begin with. I didn't have much money, you know. And I got an apartment, and then I decided to take what was left of the money, which was $10,000. Actually, yeah, it was about $10,000. And I thought I would either throw a party and get a lot of cocaine and drugs, fuck myself up really cool.
Yeah.
Or I would invest in my talent.
Uh-huh.
So I thought I would make a movie. So that's how the idea came, that I had enough money to have the idea of making a movie. Now, what was I going to write? I didn't know, but it was $5,000. I'm sorry. It was $5,000. I had $5,000 left. But a friend of mine's wife, Anna Mathias, Harry Mathias, was a cinematographer. Well, no, he was a camera operator.
Mm.
He wanted to be a cinematographer. So she came to me one day. She was in the committee too. She was just a player with me. Mm-hmm. And so she said, my husband, Harry, needs a reel to get into the cinematographer's union. Why don't you write something that you could be an actor in and that he could be the cinematographer of? Mm-hmm. He could get into the union and you will have a movie of your own. I never thought about that. And
Mhm.
he said, so I said, okay, fine. I called Harry and I said, hey, Harry. I mean, I didn't know him. I never met him.
Mhm.
I said, Harry, this is blah, 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 your wife, blah, blah, blah. And he said, yeah. I said, how much would it cost? So he said, $5,000. So I just happened to have $5,000 sitting in my sock drawer. Yeah, I wouldn't put it in the bank. I was going
Yeah.
to lose it. So I said, cool. He says, cool, write something. Okay, now I had to decide what to write. So I started to think, oh, Charlie Chaplin. Not Charlie Chaplin's talent. I mean, the guy's a
Mhm.
fucking ballet dancer genius.
Mhm.
No, it was his narratives. His stories were really simple. Guy, and what he said was, what Chaplin wrote was, he said, everybody dared me to write movies, these little shorts. And they said, how do you do that? He said, give me a cop, a girl, and a park, and I'll give you a movie.
Uh-huh.
And I bought it, man. I thought, whoa, what a great idea. A cop, a girl, and a movie. So I kind of reduced it to a park was a restaurant. In other words, one place is what he's
Mhm.
talking about. Give me a place. And you can always meet a girl in a park. So I thought, okay, instead of a cop, I'll have a robber. So, and I got the girl as the waitress.
Mhm.
So really it was a three people. Give me a girl, a hero, and a bad guy. That was kind of what I was getting from Chaplin.
Mhm.
And so I thought, okay, if a robber comes into a restaurant and there's only so it has to be at night, it has to be 4 a.m. Nobody is in the restaurant except a homeless guy, Chaplin. And then, so people were asking me, oh, yeah, I hear you're going to do a movie. What's it about? I said, this homeless guy, saves this waitress from a robber. And they said, Ick, what are you making a movie about a homeless guy? Who wants to see a movie about a homeless? These are my best friends, my closest friends, saying, don't make a movie about a homeless guy. Who wants to see a? And I really got my ire, my
Yeah.
dander up. Hey, ever hear of Charlie Chaplin? He was a fucking homeless guy. What are you
Yeah.
talking about? He's the most famous guy on the planet. What are you talking about? I mean, every once in a while, like maybe once a year, somebody just where I have to do that. I have to,
Yeah.
what are you talking about? Just to get it out, Now, okay, I got another year to go. All right.
Yeah.
So, so I thought, okay, then that was what convinced me. Once you tell me, what are you doing that for? I go, okay, I'm going to do it. So that's how I came to do it. And then I wrote it, and it was 20 pages long. And he said, cut it in half. It's too long. So it took me another couple of weeks, cut it in half. It was 10 minutes. Okay. And then we shot it. And then I said, we got to get a director. And then he goes, no, you direct. Now I thought he was honoring me.
Mhm.
I found out later, never take any suggestions from a cinematographer except where to place the camera. Because what he was doing was, he was saying, no, you direct, because he knew I didn't know how to direct. So when we get into the editing room, he can edit the movie so he gets a reel out of it.
Yeah.
And so we fought like my mother used to say, fought like cats and dogs. No,
Yeah.
we fought like editor and director. That's how and like cinematographers. I mean, I was threatening to burn the fucking movie. The man, the film. I was going
Yeah.
to burn the film if he didn't do it my way, because I suddenly woke up in the middle of editing this. We were editing Jaunty Jolly together, because what I was doing for the movie and the laugh and the narrative, it was also serving his, reel. So we were doing,
Mhm.
but then when it came to shots where, no, this is a great shot for his reel, but it didn't tell the story, we would really get head to head. And that's what I was saying. Look, man, I got a key to the vault. I'll just burn it. I don't care.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm an artist.
Yeah.
I mean, what are you talking, again,
Yeah.
what are you talking about, man? And it was like that. So when I threatened to burn the film, he finally gave in. But I was going to do it.
Yeah.
Even though I thought, Larry, that's crazy, man. What are you doing? But but we did it. And then, because I didn't know anything about films, I was a stage actor. I was in the committee. Yeah, I would do these little things for sitcoms, but there were days or maybe a week. If it was a sitcom, you rehearse for 4 days. You shoot it for the 5th. But I didn't know how to make a film. I mean, not the rules. I knew you edited. I knew you. So what happened was he edited it together, and it wasn't color corrected. But he showed me. I mean, we edited it together, but then he had to get it printed into one piece, so it wasn't just pieces. It was one thing. So he took care of that, which was fine. But when he came back, it wasn't color corrected. It was just a piece of film. And because it was all the pieces cut together that was now made into one long film, nobody had, because it was just had to be color corrected, nobody erased the crayon marks, like, arrows to cut here, color this. There was that white pencil you do when you're marking things. So that was still on, even though it was now one piece, and it wasn't color corrected. And that's what he showed me. It was my edit, the correct edit, our edit, but it had uncolor corrected and markings on it. So when I watched it, I didn't get that. No, this is standard procedure. It's not finished. We're just looking at the editing. But I was looking at it as the finished movie because I didn't understand. So I said, it's awful. It's awful. And he's saying, what do you mean it's awful? This is what we agreed to. I said, but it's the wrong color and there's marks on it. And I don't like it. I mean, so he tried to explain it to me, and it made sense. He's, no, it's going to be erased and it's got to be color correct. Oh, and he was kind of getting disgusted with my recalcitrance. So I just gave up. I took his word for it. No, this is not how it's going out, Larry. I said, okay, just call me when it's finished. So he called me when it was finished, but he said, I'll tell you what, here's what we have to do. We have to show it. Oh, he said, when it was finished and before I saw it. So I only saw the uncolored corrected thing. He said, this is good enough to hand into the academy. And I said, no, it's not good enough. Because even though he convinced me that it's still got a couple of stages to go, I said, no, they're going to see the crayon and in other words, I was just agreeing with him, but I didn't believe what he was saying. Right. I just wanted to get on with it. So I said, no, you can't hand it in. He goes, why not? Because I said, it's not good enough. Now, the reason I said it's not good enough, and here's where the dyslexia and the ADHD, not understanding things. This is totally the dyslexia. I thought, and I don't know where I got this because nobody ever told this to me, that if you get rejected from the Academy Awards, you can never hand another thing in the rest of your life.
Yeah.
So that's why I didn't want it handed in. I didn't think it was good enough. I want to hand other things in later on. This was just a test to see me as a homeless guy. That was all from my. He said, no, don't worry about it. But he said, okay, I won't hand it in. I said, okay, fine, great. Okay, now finish it. A couple of days later, he says, I got good news and I got bad news. I go, all right, what's the bad news? He said, the bad news is, against your wishes, I sent it into the academy for the award. And immediately I thought, oh my God, it's not good enough. They're going to reject it. I'll never be able to hand anything in again. So I got furious, man, on the phone. What the fuck, man? I told you, I'm the producer. This is my money. You're doing something. How dare you? Blah, 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 blah. What the fuck is the good news? We've been accepted. Hey, man, don't ever do that again, okay? listen to me. Okay, but thanks. Okay, bye. I wouldn't cop to him that I thought it was great.
Yeah.
I, after I had shouted and hollered at him for, the bad news. So we went and, so that's how it came to be. But, but now if I make a movie, I mean, all of that is gone because misunderstandings and not knowing and having to listen and sharing. So.
Well, a lot of the spontaneity has gone out of filmmaking. It's all very carefully curated now, and
because then you have to be totally professional in the look and the lighting and the camera angles and the makeup and in the old days, you can just hand something in. I mean, look, it's a good film. It is a good film. It's a good story. It's a good film. There's no getting around it. But I don't think I could get away with it now. You have to, it would be. I mean, I think to make the exact same film, exact same way, nowadays would $50,000 easy.
Oh,
I had to save in another $5,000 later on for the post-production.
Yeah.
So it cost $10,000. I think by the time it was distributed, I had spent $20,000 just in dribs and drabs. They want to send it here, and but I should have stuck with it,
Yeah.
But and the money of being an actor is.
Yeah. And How to Become an Outlaw. I just got to go back to that. I watched that.
Let me ask you something about How to Become an Outlaw before you ask me. There's several versions. So which version are you talking about?
It's one
on your or the 25-minute one.
It's the 58-minute one, the one that's on your website.
Okay, that's the one I like.
Yeah. And
I
mean,
question.
You've got Jeff Garlin in there. You've got Fred Willard, late Fred Willard. What's
Howard
Edie?
Heston, Fred Willard. Who else? I don't know. There's a lot of, but they were all my friends.
Yeah,
because I was making it. Hey, Fred, can I come over your house? And I filmed it at his house. I filmed it at Howard's house. I filmed it at everybody's house. I was take my little camera and I would,
Edie McClurg. She was hilarious.
I went over.
I loved it because it's funny, it's poignant, and I mean, you are super physical in that movie. I mean, when the two guys are hitting you, and you're getting turned around, and
I love that. Yeah.
And I mean,
you know where I got that from? That's straight out of Chaplin.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Verbatim out of Chaplin.
Yeah. I mean, it's just really cool how that went together. And it says right there that it took you 8 years to put that together. And,
because it was a composite of about 8 or 9 different film shorts. But I always, and everybody laughed at me for doing this, but always, ever, the character of Emmett Demas was the character in my mind, the character in Sally's Diner, the homeless kid. I was about 30. I looked about 25. I was about 28. I looked younger than I was. So that character in Sally's Diner, when I was in my 20s, Emmett Demas, the star of How to Become an Outlaw, is that character grown up to be 70 years old in my mind. So when I
saw that. And I was scared to say it because I thought you'd say, "No, you dumbass, that's not right." But I thought I saw that.
You're a smart ass, is what.
Yeah.
So that's really cool because what I did, and nobody knew this, and everybody thought I was crazy because they didn't understand my reasoning. But after I made that, I retired from making movies because I want to concentrate on acting and make some money and save up so I can make my films later. So I forgot about that. And then I grew older and my hair got white. So I said, okay, that guy's now older. He's now Emmett Demas. He wants to ride a motorcycle. Okay. But every time, so I'm only going to make a movie about one character, just like Buster Keaton always played one character, like Charlie played one character. I'm only going to play one character. Okay. So it was an older guy, like Fuzzy Q Jones,
Yeah.
you know. So I thought, okay, but I will only do the character in an episodic adventure that has a timeline that is in my head.
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm doing Emmett Demas stealing a motorcycle, okay, in my head, I make a mark. He stole the motorcycle here. It didn't matter where here was, it was just a mark.
Mm-hmm.
And then every other movie I ever made, and I made like 20 or 30 about Emmett, every other one either came before it or after it, or after it or before. How? Okay.
Uh-huh.
But it was always around that mark. And then when I made this one, then the one that I made next either came after it or before this one.
Mm-hmm.
So every movie in all those 28 movies, they were on a specific timeline in my head. I didn't know how much time had passed or how little, but in my head, I would say, okay, the last movie I made, he was doing this. Okay, so if I'm going to make this movie, is it here? And I'd have to adjust the timing, or it's going to happen here. Then he has to be before that happened. So I'd have rules about what had happened before that, what he knew here and what he knew here.
Mm-hmm.
And that was always in my head, but nobody else knew that. And I never wrote it down.
Mm-hmm.
So nobody knew exactly where he was coming from, but I did.
Mm-hmm.
When I made How to Become an Outlaw, I then took, this was over a period of seven years. I then took I took about the 10 of the best of the 28 movies of Emmett Demas.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, now I'm going to put them together. I'm going to connect. I'm going to attach the timeline. So I took this one, and what you saw, if you look, you see the different styles. There's different cameras.
Mm-hmm.
There's different editing. There's different. Some are in 480, some are in 880, some are in 480. I mean, they're all over the map. And I said, I don't care, man. Screw you. This is for the Museum of Modern Art.
Yeah.
Get out of my way. You know, I'm just doing what I do. You know, I make my movies for me. Yeah. But it had a narrative that followed, because in my head, I always knew where it was going. What you saw was the compilation. Mm-hmm. I just put it, and I made an hour movie out of 28 film shorts that I had made, knowing full well that it's going to work. It has to, because the narrative would always follow.
Yeah. 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 It definitely followed the narrative very well.
So I've been afraid to show it to people because of the different styles. But nowadays, because of the documentaries are really big now.
Yeah.
Well, documentaries, you shoot it on the fly. Sometimes it's in focus. Yeah. Sometimes, you have to, it's a hidden camera.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's a formal thing where you have a background and everything. Mm-hmm. So I started to see as, documentaries became popular that, they were stylistic mishmashes. Mm-hmm. It was the narrative that counted. It was about who this was about that you were following.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's how it came about. But I'm glad you liked it, man, because it was totally an experiment of Larry Hankin. It wasn't for public consumption. I'm glad that you thought it was cool.
I'm glad you put it up there, because I really enjoyed it.
Cool. Great.
So the last thing I wanted to ask is, I'm understanding, you talked about your quirky childhood and the fact that, you've got these things that could be an impediment to somebody, the ADHD, the OCD, the dyslexia and stuff like that. If you had a 22-year-old kid come up to you and say, hey, I want to get in the show business, but I got all the same shit wrong with me that you got with you, what advice would you give them?
Figure it out, kid.
Yeah. You got to go your own way, right?
Look, man, the way I came through, nobody can do it my way. Yeah. And I can't do it your way.
Yeah.
You can't. I mean, the people I talk to are dead by now.
Yeah.
The places that I were have been torn down.
Hmm.
I mean, the streets have had their names changed. I mean, come on, get real.
Yeah.
You can figure it out. I by the way, when I spoke to you before about that thing that I didn't think was funny, I wrote it for a
Hmm.
magazine. This is the subject that it was about.
Hmm.
What the advice you would give somebody new.
Hmm.
And then people say, hey man, that was really funny. And I was being serious. But
Uh-huh.
basically I closed with figure it out. You can. If you want
Hmm.
to be an actor, you got to be smart. There's no stupid actors out there, man.
Hmm.
I mean, it's like math. It's like physics.
Yeah.
I mean, you are handling subjects and emotions that are equal to, mathematical formulas.
Hmm.
You got to dig deep in yourself. You got to be honest.
Yeah.
So there is the process, and the process has changed because of digital.
Hmm.
So this is what it was all about. And now I'm being serious about an answer to you. But bottom line, figure it out,
Hmm.
kid.
Hmm.
Get as much information as you can. Digital. When I was in movies, there wasn't digital. There wasn't the internet. Hollywood was face to face. You go in and you have a meeting.
Hmm.
You talk to somebody. You sent in letters by snail mail.
Hmm.
It's not happening anymore.
Yeah.
I could give you the advice of how I made it. It wouldn't do you any good.
Hmm.
Join the committee. It
Yeah.
doesn't exist anymore. Join Second City. Yeah, try it. You
Hmm.
and 10,000 other people. You know, get real.
Yeah.
Figure it out. Go to Hollywood, be rejected, become homeless, get on a stage, make your own movies,
Hmm.
figure it out. If
Yeah.
you can't figure it out, you can't do it.
Yeah.
Very simple.
Very
Get
good.
another
Very
job.
good. I got to say that one of the things I've really enjoyed about this conversation is I mean, you're 80 years old, and
Don't say that.
I
Really.
know, but you talk about the past, but you don't live in it like some of the people I talk to. You don't let nostalgia like run your life. You are still thinking forward. You're not bitching about the fact that you have to be in front of a camera talking to me for 2 hours and stuff like that. I really appreciate that about you because you're still thinking forward instead of thinking
Okay, let
in
me
the
just
past.
note that. Part of it is, okay, that's what I'm doing. And that's a choice.
Mhm.
Part of it is my dyslexia, and I tapped into it. In other
Uh-huh.
words, I accepted, there's good stuff about dyslexia. There's great stuff about dyslexia. My
Mhm.
art and my talent has a lot to do with how I see the world through
Mhm.
dyslexic eyes.
Mhm.
So that's great. And I don't deny my dyslexia at all. I thank God for it. There are penalties you have to pay for being a dyslexic. And
Mhm.
you don't understand a lot of things. You have to have it explained. Okay. But one of the things that dyslexia I adore about it is the reason I don't understand a lot of things is I'm locked in the now.
Mhm.
I don't think about the past or what did you call it? When you think about nostalgia.
Yeah.
I don't dwell on the past or I'm not nostalgic because dyslexia isn't into nostalgia. It has
Mhm.
nothing to do with Larry Hankin or my conscious will. I am that's why my youth was so screwed up.
Mhm.
Besides having not a very good father at all,
Mhm.
was dyslexia locked me into I was always in the now. So there was no future. There was no past. And
Mhm.
therefore, the pro of it, the proactivity of dyslexia is I could focus on where I was now. If you put me in front of the camera, I could forget about a lot of stuff and focus on this,
Mhm.
or I could play the game with all gusto because I didn't care about falling and hurting myself because that
Yeah.
was in the future, or what somebody would think about me for doing this because
Mhm.
that was in the past. But the penalty is I have to get the script a long time ahead. I can't, memorize things. But over the years, I figured it out.
Mhm. Oh, that's great. Well, Larry, it's been a big get to get you, and I really
Thank you.
appreciate the time you've taken. Folks,
Well, I
make sure
appreciate
you,
your interest
yeah,
in my bullshit.
yeah. Folks, make sure you check out The Real Larry Hankin, and the movie that we talked about is
Oh yeah,
right there,
check
How to
that
Become
out.
an
Now that
Outlaw.
you've spoken about it, you can watch it. But yeah, the
Yeah.
reallarryhankin.com is my website, and it's on. I think it might be on there, but it is on Vimeo. I know that. Where did you
Yeah.
see it?
It was on
Vimeo,
it's
where
on
did
the
you see it?
site. They've got it embedded right on the front page there.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that's. Thank you very much for mentioning that.
Yeah, yeah. So, folks, make sure you check that out. And Larry, I just got to say thank you. I mean, I sometimes I can get a half hour out of somebody, and the fact that I got a little over 2 hours from you, it's all gold. So I really appreciate it.
Well, let me know when it goes on. Okay.
Yeah, I certainly will.
Oh, and
Thanks a
then yeah, the
lot.
copy. Yeah, right.
Yeah, I'm going to send you a copy. I'm